Welcome back to the Quarantine Cricket Championship. I'm Brian Jackson, and this is day 2 of the third Ashes Test between England and Australia. Very rain affected day 1, 2 sessions washed out, so Australia, after being sent into bat, have gotten as far as 81 for 1, which, to be honest, playing as Australia, I'm pretty happy with. Labuschagne and Warner have looked good, especially Warner. And I think England will be regretting their decision to send Australia in at the toss, at least so far. That said, a lot can change in a short amount of time if they get some early wickets this morning. Pretty decent start from the Australians though, 3 from the first over, as Stuart Broad bowls to Marnus Labuschagne, who has struggled to get any runs this series, but this has been his strongest performance. He weathered the storm on day 1, conditions weren't good for batting, and now, by the looks of it, it's a lot sunnier on day 2, so hopefully that'll make things a bit easier for him. Joe Burns the only wicket to fall as Bairstow lets through 4 more byes. We've seen a lot of that this match from him in the short amount of play we've had so far, which is really a terrible reflection on him. I mean, he's basically just handed Australia runs, and that's very well played by Warner. Tucks it away for 4, vacant fine leg region, and Australia picking up where they left off. Just the 2 slips to Warner, but they've got a catching cover and man at short leg, so reasonably aggressive field, I'd say. .92 for 1. As Stuart Broad continues to Labuschagne, who there was a lot of speculation, I hear, about whether he should have been dropped after the second test. Plays and misses at that one. Good bowling by Broad. But the fact is I stuck with him. He's a quality player, and you want your best 6 batsmen out there. Form is temporary. Class is permanent. And that's the shot of a classy player, making singles where other batsmen wouldn't see any. 93 for 1. Tries to work that through third man, nothing doing. And can't beat the man at short cover. Well defended. That's a very good line from Anderson, making him play just outside that off stump. So a well-earned maiden there for Jimmy Anderson and his long-time bowling partner, Stuart Broad, doing his work at the other end. So far without much success, it must be said. Dave Warner, close to a half century, doesn't get any closer that over. So England recovering well after a fairly average start to the day with the ball, you'd have to say. And the Australian batsmen just unable to find any gaps in the last couple overs. Labuschagne finally gets one past the fielder. It'll just be a single, but that relieves some of the pressure. Oh, and very aggressive bowling from Anderson. It's 94 for 1. In these conditions, I was thinking that a good first innings score would be just 300, 320, around there. Although, I guess with that said, it's been a batsman series so far. Lots of big totals. Bowling units for either side haven't really impressed. Will this be the match where that changes? You'd hope so, because I don't want to see an Ashes Test with 5 draws, I'll tell you that much. That's nicely tucked into the gap by Warner. They'll come through for a single. 2 from that over. Oh, and he drives nicely. Not very far though. It should be noted that the outfield is still pretty slow, so boundaries might be difficult to come by. Which makes those singles all the more important. And another good over from Jimmy Anderson, 97 for 1. Warner, 49 not out. Deserves a 50 the way he's played. But the bowl's not giving him anything to work with at the moment. Oh, and he gets that one through, so that will be the half century for Dave Warner. Just fantastic performance so far. Lost his opening partner early. Tough conditions on day 1. Saw off the morning session and has continued batting into day 2. So here's Moeen into the attack. It's a good spinning wicket by all accounts. So Moeen will be pretty confident. He's bowled well this series, even though he hasn't been used as much as I think he should have been. He's got a big chance here to break this partnership. Oh, and Labuschagne plays that superbly off the back foot through the cover region for 4, bringing up the 100 for Australia for just the loss of 1 wicket. Quality shot from a quality player. And he pushes that one nicely through the gully region for a single. So 6 from that over. Expensive start from Moeen. As Stuart Broad goes around the wicket to Marnus Labuschagne. Pretty interesting strategy. Will it pay off? We've seen them do this to Smith a few times with not much success, it must be said. He's made 2 centuries in 2 tests. So it's surprising to me that they're trying the same thing to Labuschagne. So far it's prevented him from scoring though. Maiden. I'm just noticing that Moeen has been pretty expensive so far, going at 5 and over. So, interestingly though, they haven't turned to Jack Leach yet, who is playing. He is in the side, coming in for the first time this series, in place of Jofra Archer, who had 1 wicket from the first 2 tests, wasn't performing, was barely being used. And he might come back into the side, but the conditions would have to suit him. In this case, they suit going with 2 spinners. That's well bowled by Moeen, just 2 from that over. As Sam Curran comes into the attack for the first time today. He took the wicket of Burns early on. He's probably been England's best bowler throughout the series. He's definitely making a name for himself, the young man. That's Labuschagne. Squeezes that one away for a single. Oh, nicely flicked off the pads by Warner. Bit too full, bit too straight, but the man in the deep cuts it off. Nicely bowled. It's 108 for 1. Couple of blokes in close to the bat on the leg side for Dave Warner. Moeen looking for that inside edge. I'd be looking at a man at silly point if I was England as well. Keep the pressure on. They've got a bloke pretty close to the bat. Oh, and the plan's worked. Would you believe it? Dave Warner's gone. The inside edge to the man at short leg, Rory Burns, and Moeen gets the breakthrough. Dave Warner gone for a courageous 53. It was a good innings, well played to him. That brings Stephen Smith to the crease, the man who has made centuries in every test of the Quarantine Cricket Championship so far. Australia wouldn't mind another one, as Labuschagne brings him on strike for the first time. Facing Sam Curran, who goes with the Yorker straight away, well bowled. 3 slips and a gully. And again, full and straight. That's how he's taken his wickets, Sam Curran. Pressure's definitely on, as England finally break the partnership 1 hour into day 2, and that is just past the bat. So, couple really strong overs there from England. Fought back well. But we know the damage these two batsmen can do. Oh, and look at this. 5 men in close to the bat. 3 on the leg side. So, England not messing around. They know the ball's turning. They know Moeen is a gun. And they know they've got to get Smith out early before he takes yet another test match away from their grasp. Two from the over. It's 111 for 2. As Curran bowls again to Smith. Another full and straight delivery that Smith can only defend. Oh, and he looks to attack that one. He'll probably be happy to get down the other end there, Stephen Smith. And that's nicely bowled as well. Oh, and has that caught the edge? They're going up. Umpire shakes his head. Nothing doing, says Alim Dar. But a lot of pressure on the batsman here. And interestingly, Jimmy Anderson coming back into the attack. I'm not sure I would have made that decision, but I find myself saying that a lot this series. Joe Root, I don't understand his strategy. Labuschagne backing away there. Interesting way to approach the straight one. Oh, and that's nicely played. Only as far as mid-off though, so they won't even get a single for that one. Here's Moeen once again. Well bowled. Well bowled. So they don't have quite as many men around the bat already to Smith. Not sure what that's about. He hasn't looked particularly comfortable. Tossed up outside off. Smith happy to just defend it. He's building an innings, Smudge. Checkers, as they call him in the rooms, I'm told. Anderson to Labuschagne. Nicely bowled. Well defended. Driven only as far as, I guess, mid-wicket. So Labuschagne just going about it as he did yesterday for the most part, working in singles, not doing anything foolish. Oh, and that's a wild full toss from Anderson. Probably fortunate not to have it put away like the rubbish that it was. Still, Australia under a bit of pressure. The scoring's dried up since the dismissal of Warner. Smith hasn't really gotten away. It's been a couple close calls. Oh, nicely driven by Smith. They should come back for 2. Yeah, pretty comfortable in the end. Nicely played and well run. And well defended there. Bit short there from Moeen. Wouldn't mind seeing Smith heave that one through square. $118 for 2. As Jimmy Anderson bowls to Steve Smith. 2 legendary figures of the game doing battle out in the middle. Who wins? So far this series it's been Smith. And he drives nicely, beats one fielder, can't beat the other. They've got a lot of men in the deep on the offside for Steve Smith, particularly considering what stage of his innings he's at. Maybe a strategy of some sort that I'm just not picking up on. And a single to end the over brings the score to 120 for 2. As Labuschagne can't beat mid-off. Sam Curran with the ball in hand. Labuschagne moves across, flicks it through for 1. He's working pretty much exclusively in singles. Marnus, at this stage of the game, don't mind that. His aggression's really low. I figure he just needs to bat himself into some form and stick around as long as he can, while sort of the informed batsmen bat around him in a sense. Two from it. Anderson to continue. Nicely driven by Smith, and it goes through the fielder's legs. Would you believe it? So, big let off there. Moments like that, maybe they're not huge in the context of the match, but it's just about the pressure that's on the batsman and the pressure that's relieved when something like that happens. So I reckon Joe Root would be pretty angry about that one. 126 for 2. Curran to Labuschagne. Squares him up. And I do think Curran's a lot more threatening going around the wicket like this. Not much Labuschagne can do with these ones. Plays at that. Doesn't get very far. Well defended. So a maiden over. Anderson has been economical this innings. None for 28 off 17 overs. Bowling like Pragyan in 2010, India versus Australia, first test. That sort of economical. Real cricket fans will know what I'm talking about. As Smith finds the gap, just the single. But that's good test match batting. Labuschagne sees what Smith's doing and says, yep, I can do that. $128 for 2. 10 minutes left in this opening session. Smith and Labuschagne will just be hoping to survive. That's basically how they've been batting since getting out there. But England, if they can make a breakthrough here, they're very much on top, you'd have to say. 129 for 2, 6 minutes left. That's probably 2 overs we're looking at. And it'll be Jimmy Anderson, wicketless so far, but a quality bowler, nevertheless. It's Labuschagne. Sort of a pull shot, not sure how I'd really describe it. And he goes down the ground, so just an excellent shot. He's been very defensive all innings, Labuschagne, but when he sees one he likes, he puts it away. 133 for 2. He moves to 48. Is there time for him to make a 50? He's got a few deliveries now off Stuart Broad. I would have stuck with Curran, of course, but England have other ideas. Labuschagne drives, just the single, so he moves to 49 as 3 balls remain in the opening session of day 2. Well left by Smith, nothing foolish there, which brings us to lunch on day 2. Australia 135 for the loss of 2 wickets. Warner 53, pick of the batsman you'd have to say, but Labuschagne is still there. He's been very important. 49 not out, hasn't been flashy, it has been effective. So that brings us into the second session, and as there have been some changes to the social distancing regulations in place in the state which I'm in, I am now delighted to welcome Mozo back to the commentary booth, not to replace me, but with me. We can commentate this together, so hang tight for a moment, viewers. Hello! Hello viewers, welcome back. Shot! Yeah, that's an excellent shot by Labuschagne there. Brings up his half century in style, and he wants to keep going. He is getting a move on. Now this Labuschagne, he's I take it he's the captain of the side. No, actually, Labuschagne's a fairly young player in this test side for Australia. Probably the least experienced of anyone in this 11, actually. But since making his way into international cricket, he's been a real standout performer. So why is he at 3 then, Brian? Usually you'd put the gun captain at 3. Like Smith. Is this Noah Smith batting? No, this is Steve Smith. It's interesting to have someone who isn't too familiar with the Australian team on commentary with me. yeah, Steve Smith. I mean, I don't know how to describe him. He's the best batsman in Test cricket today. Explain this Test cricket. Is it 4 days, or is it 50, is it 80 overs a side, split innings? Is it Flogg's fancy? I don't know what the last one is, but no, it's a 5 day match, 2 innings a side, um, unlimited overs per innings. I see. So it's like the hour leg, except you extend it out a day longer, and then so there's more chance of a result, or maybe some big scores. Uh, yeah, well, it's a first, yeah, it's a first class match, but it's 5 days. International teams play. Oh yes, I've seen this in the big world. Yes, I know what you're talking about, and this is a virtual series, so I imagine it's even more exciting. Yep, right you are. As Stuart Broad continues, the way this is going to work is that I'm going to be handling playing the game, and Mozo's just here to commentate. So I don't want you guys to think that this bloke here has any influence over what's happening on the field. Yes, that was quite confusing last time, actually. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. Nice single from Smith. So the scoreboard just ticking along nicely here after the break. Australia have, I'm not going to say got a move on just yet, but they're certainly looking more comfortable than they were towards the end of last session as Stuart Broad oversteps the mark. Now, how can there be a no ball in a virtual cricket match? The crease is digital. It's how could you overstep it? It's an animation. Yeah, well, I guess that's a good question. The batsman was beaten all ends up. Indeed, he was. Smith pretty close to being dismissed there. Mose, absolutely right about that. And the batting side has brought up the 150. That's right, batting side is Australia. They've lost 2 wickets. As Moeen Ali continues his work, it's very wide. The umpire has signalled a wide. So England just, their concentration wavering a bit, you could say. And Broad will continue. Nicely played into the fine leg read, I guess deep square leg you'd say. Long leg. Now tell me, Brian, why aren't the fielders wearing caps? Usually in a cricket match, the fielding side is wearing hats of some sort, maybe a wide brim, maybe a snap back, maybe a, you know, helmet for the keeper. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that is only really seen in Cricket Captain. You know, it's just part of the game, I guess. I could write to the developers asking about it, but I don't know if that would change anything about the quality of the game, really. It's not something that I've picked up on, to be honest. Well, that just strikes me as you not looking hard enough. The batsman was beaten all ends up. You've said that a couple of times now, but that's just Steve Smith leaving it. He's got a bit of an unorthodox technique, um, but it's just him leaving it. But if he's a virtual batsman, why wouldn't he play a shot every ball? Well, the game is supposed to mimic a real test match, Mose. It's sort of, it's not designed to be better than real cricket, as you've suggested. It's just, it's you get to simulate what a real cricket match would be like. Then what's the point? It's If I wanted to watch real cricket, I'd go down to the Oval ground and watch Benno Senior bat out a day in the nets. Maybe a 0 for 3 off 90 overs, something along those lines. That's what real cricket looks like in where I come from. I didn't really catch any of that. Sorry. So minus Labuschagne will raise the aggression up a bit, seeing as he's looking so comfortable, and he's seen off the first half hour after the lunch break with Smith, looking very confident. Oh, and that's well swept. Delightful sweep by Smith. That's so high, it'll bring rain. Not high enough to clear the fence, apparently. But Smith gets a single straight away. 159 for 2. The batsman was beaten all ends up. I think that's just Labuschagne doing the Steve Smith lead as well. He's not actually playing a shot when he does that. As Moeen Ali, it's been a bit expensive. Smith can't beat the man in close. It's 160 for 2. Broad bowling to Labuschagne. The captain is going with pace now. Indeed he is, and has it worked? No, not quite. Broad! Is he still kicking around? Yeah, I mean, how do you know Broad if you don't know who Steve Smith is? Well, it's easy. When I was in Queenscliff doing the Hidden Ashes a couple of summers back with Mark Taylor, Summers back, a couple of summers back with a couple of Pommers back with Ian Chappell and Luke Summers back, and Mark Taylor and some of those blokes. Broad was there playing for the England side. That's fascinating. I presume you mean you were watching the Ashes. There was one a couple of summers ago, which Stuart Broad was playing from memory. How would you know it was hidden? Got no answers, I'm afraid, as Steve Smith gets through for a single. Well defended by Labuschagne. Partnership, I think, has moved past 50 now, scoring pretty comfortably, and with this field back, there's plenty of room for singles like that. Come on, slog sweep, go over the top. Yeah, I don't think it's the sort of situation in the match where you're likely to see that, I'm afraid. Then what am I paying for? Well, I'm paying you to be here with some of the money that's coming from when I'm eventually monetize these. So I wouldn't be complaining. You're not the spectator. The batsman was beaten all ends up. I see I'm getting nowhere. 164 for 2. Maiden over. Moeen to continue. Oh, and that's very well played by Steve Smith. 2 wide, put away through cover. Doesn't matter how many men on the boundary you've got, that's always going away when he gets onto one. The right-arm orthodox bowler is coming into the attack from the north end. It's almost like you've prepared some of your remarks, Mose. You've seemed to say a lot of similar sounding things. I can't quite put my finger on where I've heard some of those before, but I Yeah, it's an interesting approach to commentary. Yes, I've learned from the best. Any danger of Sravasharam and damage coming on here, so that we have sort of a third voice, maybe a third wheel in the commentary car. Yeah, I've spoken to Gamage, and he's a bit concerned about this whole quarantine situation. Doesn't really want to leave his house, even for cricket commentary. Uh, but he did promise that he would do the India matches. So, oh, and look, Bearso's let that through. The keeper was beaten all ends up. Yep, that's actually correct. Nicely run single there. And the runs actually are flowing pretty easily this session for the Australians. Not having any issues with the England bowlers for the most part. There's been a few plays and misses. And Smith tucks that away. Just the single. Looks like he hit it into a gap pretty well. Labuschagne gets one once again. How do you say it? Babbled Shane, Labuschagne. Oh yes, Labul. I've been to Babble, Thruggle Shane, Labul. Um, I know this bloke. And that's the end of the first hour of the second session. That'll be drinks. So there will be a change in the commentary. And joining me now is Ian Chappell. Yes, hello, Brian. Hello, Ian. Good to have you with us. Just bring your chair across so you can see what's going on the screen. Yeah, there we go. So, this is your first time on the Quarantine Cricket Championship, Sir Ian. What do you make of what we've seen so far, and how does it feel to be here? Well, what we've seen so far is just bad cricket all around. Both sides have struggled to get anything going with the ball, even when the conditions have suited it. The modern fast bowler, he doesn't know how to generate his own swing. Takes all his wickets on bouncy Australian decks where the ball hoops around. It's just Moeen Ali. Who is he? English spin bowler Moeen Ali. Yeah, look, he's bowling all right, but I take your point about quick bowlers. As the screen freezes up a bit. And hold on. Oh, you've got to. You can't. No, it doesn't work like that. You don't. No, there's nothing. You can't pick it up and hold it to your face. It's not going to work. Sorry about that. Just having some technical difficulties. Ian's going to try to sort that out with a couple of the production team, and hopefully we'll get him back at some stage. As Jack Leach comes into the attack, it's been a while. Is he bowling in sunglasses? Wow. Test cricket, there's just nothing like it. So spin from both ends. Good to see, I reckon. It's good for the game. You wouldn't normally see it in England. I don't know what Ian was talking about when he said that English pitches aren't seem friendly. Might finally be losing it at his age. Oh, and Smith sweeps and sweeps well. No one out there in the deep, and they should come back for 3. Just textbook batting against the spinners. He looks very comfortable out there, Steve Smith, after a tough opening few overs. But Jack Leach poses a different challenge. We haven't seen him in this series yet. Maybe he's in the form of his life. Maybe he'll be the one who gets something out of these conditions for the England side. Maybe he will break this partnership, which right now is causing a lot of issues for the English. Maiden over from Leach. Pretty tidy start from him as Moeen continues once again to Marnus Labuschagne. Now going around the wicket. Pretty interesting. No one at short leg. Labuschagne looking to attack there. Doesn't get it past the bowler. Just defended, no run. Very wide outside off there. And left once again. Jack Leach to continue to Steve Smith. The runs not coming as quickly the last couple of overs. Might be time to think about raising the aggression for Smith up to 3 bars, considering that we lost a lot of play on day 1, which in cricket captain never gets recovered. It might be good to think about upping the ante a bit. Smith fully settled, excellent player, in good form. So I might actually do that at the end of this over. It is risky, of course, but you don't win test matches by not taking risks. As we see our 3rd consecutive maiden, so that's as good a sign as any that Smith's going to up the ante a bit, even with this new ball. I think it's actually harder to bat against spin on this surface than it is against the quick bowlers, so I have faith that Smith won't be troubled by the new ball. And he has very good company in Marnus at the other end. Plays that nicely, no run. So poor Jack Leach only gets 3 overs before he's taken off. .185 for 2. Anderson back into the attack as you'd expect. Labuschagne plays it nicely. He's looking very comfortable now. I'm very impressed with the way he's gone about it. Perhaps a career-saving knock in this quarantine series as Smith goes down the ground. Incredibly straight, all timing, all placement. And again, gee, that was the more aggressive shot, but that's the one that doesn't beat the fielder. So it looks as if this change in approach from Smith is very much influencing his decision making. He's got the word from the coaching box that it's time to just kick on a little bit, nothing crazy. That's a good shot, good intent from Smith. He's moving towards a half century. That's just good aggressive running. Early call from Labuschagne. Smith pulls and pulls nicely. Should come back for 2. Throw comes in from the deep. Doesn't threaten the stumps. So Australia unfazed by the new ball so far. And Smith just goes bang all the way to the ropes, and that's his 50. Another superb innings so far from Steve Smith. He's the player of the series so far in my book. But again, we're not even halfway through this series. And I'm just receiving word that Ian Chappell has left the building. It was a risk asking him to do this virtual series. I understood that and I still went through with it. And right now the blame is on my shoulders. Sorry, guys. One thing to note is that the conditions have just gotten slightly better for the quick bowlers. The bounce is slightly more uneven than it was at the start of the day and throughout day 1. So this probably is a decent time for Broad and Anderson to be coming back into the attack. As Smith brings up the 200 for Australia. Really good start, only 2 wickets lost. After being sent in at the toss, this is definitely what I was after. Still, a lot of time left in this test match. I'm not entirely sure when a declaration would come, probably at some point on day 3 if we're still batting by then, which looks likely at this stage. But I do want as many runs on the board as possible before that point. It's still really early to be talking about that. We're only on 202. Can Broad get something going with this new ball? Steady bowls a no ball. Nicely driven by Labuschagne. Maybe more of just a push into the cover region for a single. Hasn't played any loose shots really, minus Labuschagne. He's been composed. Taking things slowly. $207 for 2. Anderson to Smith. Nicely played. So this could be the last over of the session. It's been another good one for the Australians. They've won every session of the match so far, including the ones that are rained out. I'd say it benefited them. Maybe that will be different with the benefit of hindsight, who knows. $209 for 2 at T. Minus Labuschagne, 72 not out. Steve Smith, 56 not out. So why not dive straight into the 3rd session? Update on the conditions. Yep, pretty good for bowlers, you'd have to say. Outfield is getting a bit faster with all this sunlight. And it doesn't look like there'll be any more heavy rain like we saw on the first day. Maybe a few showers, but if you look at this, you'd want to be bowling on day 4 and 5, overcast conditions. But that's still a ways away as we enter the 3rd session of day 2. Australia on top. Smith getting things underway with a single. Labuschagne probably could have smashed that one, to be honest. Short and wide. Oh, and Smith's clean bolt. Well, that was out of nowhere. Would you believe it? So, after a really composed 57, Steve Smith's on his way back to the pavilion. Matthew Wade comes to the crease. He's also in some excellent form. Made a century, also made a 90 in the first test. But gee, hurts to lose Smith like that. Big disappointment. And hopefully that doesn't affect Marnus Labuschagne's confidence too much, as Australia still needs him to stick around, do a job. Matthew Wade gets away with a single. Oh, nicely driven by Labuschagne. What a shot. 4 runs. Delightfully played. .218 for 3. Oh, and Wade gets away with a boundary. He loves playing through the leg side, does Matty Wade. He's done it all series. It's been the key to his success for the most part. And today looks no different early on. And again, England have bowled a lot of no balls and a lot of byes as well, as that one flies past the slips for 4. Probably should have a second slip in place for the new batsman. Gee, all happening. 9 from that over. Could have been a wicket. But Australia, 227 for 3. Labuschagne pushes that one through the offside for 1. And a good leave by Wade off a pretty threatening delivery there. 228 for 3. Labuschagne continuing as if nothing's happened, unfazed by the loss of Smith. And they do have a second slip in place now, so clearly Joe Root learning his lesson that time. Two from the over, 230 for 3. Anderson into his 28th over. I'm not even surprised at this stage. And good running there. Saw the single was on. And Labuschagne not budging, not giving in to temptation. He's on 80 now. Gee, I'd love to see him get 100. He's batted for pretty much the entire test match so far. He's been so important. As Broad oversteps yet again. Maybe it's a symptom of fatigue. They've been out there in the field quite a long time again. Full toss, not put away. So Australia have their scoring slowed down slightly in the last few overs. Doesn't matter too much. Labuschagne unable to get that one away. And defends that solidly. So a maiden over there. Sam Curran back into the attack. Don't mind this from the English. He's bowled well, as usual. Will he be the one who dismisses Marnus Labuschagne? Not yet. Gets through for a single. Tidy start. Well fielded there. Looks like Leach. 234 for 3. Anderson to Labuschagne, who's now an 81. He's playing so defensively, though, that maybe you won't even make it to 100 tonight. Oh, full toss. Couple men out there in the deep, though. So Anderson pretty much gets away with it. Wade looks in good nick, as we know that he is. 236 for 3. Curran to Matthew Wade. Well bowled, well defended. Oh, nicely driven. That'll beat the fielder and go all the way for 4, I should say. Very nice shot. Matthew Wade looking very comfortable out there. And this partnership is still pretty important for Australia. They're in a good position to almost bat England out of the game on day 3 if things continue in this direction. But obviously the key factor is how much time is left in the test, how well England do with the bat in these conditions. Australia don't seem too fazed by the pitch or the weather. As Wade, he finds the gap once again. Just fantastic batting. Not playing any crazy shots, it's just all placement. .245 for 3. Sam Curran now going around the wicket to Labuschagne. He pushes that one too short cover. Pulls that, just the single. Looks like a vacant square leg region. So runs to be had there. Matthew Wade, they've clearly stacked a few fielders there for that shot after he's got a couple of boundaries with the drive in recent overs. Still very defensive cricket by Joe Root. I think that's been a real weakness of his this series. Hasn't been attacking with his field placings for long enough. And has just relied on Anderson and Broad to really keep things tight for the most part. This is a better over though. Maiden 247 for 3 as the clock strikes 5 here at Headingley. Interestingly enough, I don't think we've seen any of Ben Stokes today. I don't remember him bowling. They've just used their three main quicks and the two spinners. So things tightening up in the last few overs. 248 for 3. Oh, speak of the devil, is Ben Stokes. Will he be the one who dismisses Labuschagne, who now moves to 86 not out? Matthew Wade just not getting anything he can put away of late. But he flicks that through for a single, which brings up the 250 for Australia. 3 wickets lost, which in these conditions is a big success. Really, there's not too many circumstances where you wouldn't want to be 3 for 250 in a test match. So the Australian batting lineup delivering yet again as Wade smashes that down the ground. Wasn't even that bad a delivery, but got a hold of it, got the reward. Curran seems to be moving it quite a bit into the left-hander there. Matthew Wade plays it nicely. Labuschagne plays that late, plays it with soft hands. Pretty safe in the end. 256 for 3. As Stokes continues, he's going around the wicket to Labuschagne. Don't see that too often in real life. Oh, and he's gone. Would you believe it? Thick inside edge. Bairstow takes the catch this time, and Marnus Labuschagne is gone for the unlucky number 87. So that's his test high score in this cricket captain world, and it brings Travis Head to the crease. So really disappointed that he didn't get the ton, but how important was that innings for Australia? Very is the answer. It's just superb stuff. Moeen to Wade. So England will be thinking if they can just get another couple wickets before stumps, they're very much in this game. Nicely driven by Head to get off the mark with a single. Wade can't beat the man in close. They run for it, and that's clearly a run out. Would you believe it? They throw a wicket away. Travis Head didn't even get going. There was clearly not a single there. And Australia has just handed England an opportunity back into this game. 258 for 5. That's not so impressive. And I mean, it was Matthew Wade's call, so the blame has to go on him. He'd better make up for it with more shots like that, I tell you what. That is hugely disappointing and so unnecessary at this stage of the game. Travis Head will be fuming. Matthew Wade will be nervous to go back into the dressing room and face him. 263 for 5. So Moeen Ali. Bowling his off breaks. He's been alright, but surprisingly, given the conditions, it's been one of his weaker bowling performances in the series. And Payne gets away with a single. Oh, and that should be out. Struck on the toe and he's gone. Would you believe it? Wickets are tumbling like 9 pins, 10 pins. Oh, unbelievable. I reckon the tail's just going to have to put as many runs on the board as quickly as possible now. I cannot believe how quickly things have changed. It started with Labuschagne being dismissed. Then there was the run out, and now Matthew Wade, the settled batsman, who was looking really good, has also been dismissed. So it'll be up to Tim Payne, the captain, and a bunch of tail-enders to get Australia past 300, hopefully up to around 350, as Pattinson's played and missed a couple now, not looking too flash. Pattinson, of course, James, not Darren, being brought into the side for Mitchell Starc. I thought, given the overcast conditions, he would be better suited. Although it doesn't look like he'll be bowling in those overcast conditions at the start. At least, maybe later on in the match. But he's no slouch with the bat, and Australia could use a handy 20 or 30 from their number 8. Oh, nicely played by Tim Payne. It was too wide. He saw the gap and he exploited it tremendously. Good shot, good boundary, good cricket, and an easy single there as well. .273 for 6. Ben Stokes bowling to Tim Payne. Just over 20 minutes left in the day, so I reckon if these two can bat us through to stumps, it's still very much Australia's day. But it's not the same match situation as it looked like it could be just half an hour ago. .275 for 6. Moeen to continue. He's taken a couple wickets now. And he's taken a third. Pattinson tried to go aggressively there. Found the edge of a full toss. Ollie Pope takes the catch. And Australia have lost their 7th. The collapse continues. Pat Cummins now at the crease. Hasn't had a very good series with bat or ball. He needs a big performance here. And he gets off the mark. So Tim Payne and Pat Cummins, both competent batsmen, but in the game they're pegged as extremely defensive players. So I think we can say goodbye to the idea that there are going to be quick runs for Australia. But really, at this point, I'll settle for partnership of 30, even if it takes, over an hour. nicely driven, but can't beat the fielder. So a maiden over there from Stokes. Alright, we've got 4 overs left in the day. England will be thinking they're a realistic chance of maybe even knocking Australia all out. But it's pretty simple for the Aussies. Just survive the day, come back tomorrow, put some runs on the board, and then get into some bowling on day 3. So in the end, there's still going to be a fair bit of time left in this match. England are probably happy about that. But a lot depends on how the Australian bowlers are able to go about it tomorrow. As Moeen completes another maiden, Sam Curran into the attack. 3 overs left. Driven by Payne for no run. Again, can't beat the field. Lets that one go. And another maiden. Stuart Broad to bowl the penultimate over of day 2. So Cummins gets one away. That'll be runs. Should be 2. Yep. Almost a boundary, but Australians will be happy with 2 as Broad beats the bat. Well bowled. Well defended by Cummins. And once again, so 279 for 9. Sam Curran to bowl the last over of day 2. Tim Payne on strike. Thanks everyone for joining me today. It's been another engrossing day of virtual test cricket here. And I'm so glad you're all enjoying it with me. Tim Payne gets through for a single, so it'll be Pat Cummins with 2 deliveries to see off. Tries to play a drive, not really the delivery for it. Dot ball. Last ball of the day is left alone very wisely by Cummins. So at the end of day 2, Australia is 280 for 7. Dave Warner got things off to a great start for the Australians with his 53. Marnus Labuschagne batted for pretty much the entire match up to this point for his 87. Really a career-defining knock at this stage. Steve Smith looked good for his 57, was dismissed out of nowhere, and then this is where it all went wrong. Middle order collapse, lots of needless wickets lost, and in the end, England will be feeling like they are very much a chance in this third Ashes test. So, until next time, I'm Brian Jackson, and I'll see you again soon for more of the Quarantine Cricket Championship.